We love hip hop.
We're getting more details now about a drive-by shooting in Regent Park last night that killed one man and left another man lucky to be alive.
For Shale Mills, 19 years of age, no fixed address of Toronto.
Driver and the car involved in both are also believed to be the same.
It's a joke. We're getting this money.
What is the life sentence? In Canada, murder is either first or second degree. Persons convicted for first degree are not eligible for parole until they serve at least 25 years of their sentence. Persons convicted of second degree are not eligible for parole until they have served between 10 to 25 years, as determined by the courts. It is important to note that convicted persons who are under 18 at the time of the offense have different periods of parole ineligibility. Toronto is a beautiful city with a multitude of talented artists. Artists like The Weeknd, Tory Lanez, and Drake have overcome obstacles and crossed the border, stamping our Canadian flag with their success. This video will cover a multitude of rappers who had the scene on fire prior to being convicted and then sentenced to life in prison. This video is in no way to promote violence or street gang culture. All content presented is within YouTube's terms and conditions. This is created for educational purposes only, as well as a precautionary tale.
This 38, send you to the pearly gates. My Glock 9 stops time, don't make me point it
at your face.
Starting off our list, this artist hails from what used to be Toronto's most notorious hood, Regent Park. Tyke was part of the legendary Turk and Tyke rap duo with Toronto OG Turk, and both were alleged leaders of the Sick Thugs crew. The Sick Thugs gained notoriety in the early 2000s with a string of mixtapes like TNT Bout to Blow and Bottom to the Top. From 2007 to 2010, the Sick Thugs made a lot of noise in the Toronto music scene for a couple of reasons. Besides their hard-hitting music, they had a highly publicized, controversial beef with Regent Park's first popular rap crew, Point Blank. The beef between the two crews, as well as a multitude of hood politics, caused the news publications to use the term internal cleansing when describing the violent street feud. During that time, Turk and Tyke dealt with multiple arrests, and some cases, lyrics were used in court in an attempt to bury the young artist.
Been denied in bail from videos. They played my video, a 3-day bail hearing, where they played 13 videos.
Wow. On February 19th, 2010, around 1 a.m., the Sick Thugs were in their studio on 25 Polson Street in the downtown area near the Regent Park neighborhood. At that very time is when the Enforcement Task Force raided them, seizing a large quantity of cocaine, codeine, and 2 loaded handguns, and seized more than $7,000 in cash. After that arrest, the Sick Thugs started to lose steam for the most part, with Turk turning his life around for the better, becoming an active part of change in the Regent Park community. As for Tyke, things didn't change much, and he remained heavily entrenched in the street life, found dead of his injuries. After the shooting, Tyke fled to Aruba, where he was able to somewhat lay low. By May of 2017, Tyke was arrested in Aruba for the murder of Sion Carrington, as well as a new charge for a murder in Aruba. According to the local news station in Aruba, 24aura.com, Gibson was arrested in a dramatic takedown after a car accident that followed a police chase. Now at this time, Tyke is currently serving time in Aruba for the murder of Phi Young Nguyen Quach, 29 at the time. The weird part about it is that both of these gentlemen are from Regent Park and got into a bang out on a tropical island. At this time, Tyke is still in Aruba serving time for the murder of Phi Young Nguyen Quach, and once that is complete, he will be extradited to Canada to face charges for Sion Carrington's murder. Now, downtown Toronto was a crazy time in the early 2010s. However, things were no different over there on the West End, which brings us to the Vaughan and Oakwood General Heartless G. Around that same span of time from 2007 to 2010, Heartless G was ringing bells on the West End of town for music and a few more notorious activities. For the most part, Heartless grew up as a pretty quiet kid in the Vaughan and Oakwood areas, as well as in the Durham region in the East End due to his family's situation. By the time he was in his late teens, he was getting into music and the Blood and Crip sets that were starting to infiltrate the Toronto streets. He earned his name Ginger the Bread Man for his constant wearing of red. He started catching charges when he was young and caught a big one at 18 for an attempted that was eventually dropped to weapons possession. After his first bid, he realized that a lot of people that he thought had his back didn't, and he grew heartless, spawning the name.
That's what, you know?
Yeah. How you come up with the name Ginger G?
Ginger G. So back then they were, you know what I'm saying, they were calling me Ginger the Bread Man.
Sick.
You know what I'm
That's a
saying?
sick.
Ginger the bread man. I don't want to. I was doing back then 14, 15, 16 to get a little bit of money. I was making a little bit of money, and it was Ginger the bread man, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I just lived up to the name more, you know. Just my name's the bread man. I gotta get this bread, you know.
Yes, sir.
And then man say, yo, man, just move like a G. So the short form for G or Ginger is G, you know. So it just became Ginger G. And then it wasn't until I came out of Hamilton, Barton, Ohio, and then so when I came out, I realized like enough people that I thought like, you know, when you're feeling yourself and like enough gal that was with me, they weren't checking for me, and I just realized I had to like put up a shell, like I had to put up a wall to be able to deal with that, and that's where Heartless came in, man. Like
at this time, he also got more serious about making music, and with the help of the legendary live show promoter Freddie Fame, Heartless G released his first mixtape, Re-Up and Push. Unfortunately, prior to the release of that project, Heartless got into an incident on May 3rd, 2010 that would change his life. On that mid-afternoon, a young 17-year-old by the name of Mitchell Solis, aka Frost, and a friend walked into Winona Drive and Hersling Avenue area near Vaughan and Oakwood, the turf where Heartless G and his crew would frequent. Frost was wearing blue from head to toe, which was a bad idea walking through a blood turf. It was alleged that Heartless and a couple of his friends walked up to the two as they walked through the neighborhood. After a short walk, shots rang off and the chase ensued with Frost on the receiving end. Frost's colleague was pretty much ignored, with Frost being the main target. Frost was hit with multiple shots and later succumbed to his injuries in the hospital. Police issued a Canada-wide warrant for Heartless G's arrest, which put his music into an overdrive. He released a plethora of mixtapes and videos, including Hood Life, sitting at 174,000 YouTube views, with most of them at the time of the release, as well as Love the Blood, sitting at 500,000 views. Even though the allegations were serious, it didn't stop Heartless G from making music for himself, as well as the crew, even paying for studio sessions.
And some of the more the mob them were coming up. They were starting to rap more then. So every session I'm there. You know, whether it's we're working out. This is where we're living. We're living in the studio. I'll buy the bottles, I'll buy the loud, I'll pay for the session just to make sure the man are on it, make sure the man are doing it, keep making tracks.
Eventually the race was over after a year, and Heartless G was apprehended on April 13th, 2010. During the trial, the Crown, aka the prosecutor, tried to use Heartless G's music against him, bringing up over 72 separate songs. This actually set a legal precedent in Canadian law, allowing lyrics to be played in court.
From that type of stuff, you know, so they were trying to flood the courtroom with that. And I remember when they first proposed it, it was about 70 something like that, and they wanted to put that out there, and you should have seen the judge's eyes, like, what, why?
70 something songs?
Why do you need this much?
Heartless G was sentenced to life in prison and is now serving time in the Workworth Correctional Institution. He released a bunch of great songs and collaborations for Behind Bars, and even published a book. Salute to Heartless G. Big salute to the sponsors, Diamond Club, with delivery all over the GTA and now all across Canada. They got the best selection of flour, edibles, and pens, and all types of goodies that you need. You can find them on their Instagram page, DiamondClub_Canada, or you can find them on the 7 Days of Weed app, as well as the Leafy Things app. Let them know that you heard about them through the We Love Hip Hop Network, and they may give you a discount. Big salute to Diamond Club. Cheer!
One touch. You already know what time it is. I'm saying we're getting this money. That's what it is, dog. You know what I mean? Then think it's a joke. We're getting this money.
Now next we have someone that we've covered in depth in our documentary series. However, Mark Moore, aka El Prezidentah, is unique, being Toronto's only known serial killer rapper. Prezidentah was raised in the West End in the infamous neighborhood of Lawrence Heights, aka Jungle, home for other popular Toronto rappers like Flippa GGG and Top 5.
It's about the violence, because you don't want to eager somebody else to go do some retaliate, like rapping less about violence. And we're getting to that, you know what I mean?
His formative years were also in that 2008 to 2011 wild times, and like the others, he grew up to get into the gang ties of the Toronto streets. He joined a blood set at the young age of 16, and he suffered a disfiguring injury when an assailant tried to break into his home. In the home invasion, he was in the face with an AK-47, leaving a scar across his face. Now, Prezzy's musical catalog is slim compared to the rest of these artists on our list, and most of his songs are either on Dat Piff or didn't even make it to the new internet age. His affiliation with rap legend turned snitch Mayhem Moriarty was his way into the rap game, since Mayhem was already on a meteoric rise.
Out here, one touch, you already know what time it is. I'm saying, getting this money, that's what it is, dog.
Things went left when Prezi went on a 75-day murder spree from September of 2010 that ended with 4 lives being lost across 3 neighborhoods in Toronto. He was arrested in late 2010 with a long court proceeding that had multiple twists and turns, including being testified against by Mayhem Moriarty and a run-in that resulted in a brutal beating in the court holding cells. Now, if you want the full details of the Mark Moore, aka El Prezidentah story, please check out our full documentary available on our channel now.
You know what it is. It's your boy J Noble, Monstars Entertainment.
Now, next on our list is someone who made a big impact on the Toronto scene in the 2010s. J Noble is a representative of the Toronto neighborhood Rexdale, but more specifically, Mount Olive. In the early 2000s, J Noble's basketball skills earned him a scholarship at the University of Nebraska. However, things changed when he was turned back at the border. Over the years, Noble dealt with a share of legal issues, including gun and charges. Noble had bars, though, and a knack for painting vivid scenes of the street life. He went on to start the Monstars crew, and even a young Jizzle star made it can be seen in an early video from 2011.
Shots to my young boys to finish up. We real shooters, no decoys. Gucci, Louis.
J Noble and the Monstars became a prominent crew in the city as rappers with real street stories. In 2013, a young man, Nico Mitchell, was slain at a Rexdale Community Center. The details from the murder led to wiretaps of J Noble and the Monstars, revealing a violent history from 2011. Even revealing that they had Detective Craig Rukowski on payroll. On June 5, 2015, Project Pharaoh was executed with over 50 search warrants and over 700 police officers to perform them. Even after the search and seizure of multiple illicit substances and a multitude of arrests, J Noble was still able to slip away. After 4 months, he was apprehended and charged with the charges from Project Pharaoh, including first-degree gun possession, trafficking, and more. In addition, Noble was also charged with an additional from 2005. In the trial, numerous wiretaps were used, as well as songs Noble made after the death of his brother, which prosecutors accused him of avenging. Even unreleased songs were presented in his trial as evidence to further the burial of J Noble for his murder accusations. Now, if you want an even more detailed account of the J Noble story, I suggest you go over to the Child Support YouTube channel and watch their thorough, detailed breakdown on this legendary artist. But just like J Noble's lyrics were used for a plethora of convictions, this next Toronto rapper had the same fate for a murder that he claims that he never committed to this day. Big salute to this episode's sponsor, Exotic Hot Pot, with great strains and merch and delivery all across the GTA. You can hit them up on their Instagram page, Exotic Hot Pot CA, or subscribe to their Telegram at Exotic Hot Pot. Let them know that you heard about them through the We Love Hip Hop podcast. Salute to the sponsors. Cheer! You're doing 25 to life right now?
Yeah, 25 to life. I started my life sentence in 2012. I believe I came to the penitentiary May 25th, 2012.
Lamar Skeet was raised in the west end of Toronto in an area called the Junction, which is a neighborhood near to the South Jane Street area. Raised in a home with a single mother and a younger brother, Lamar was an average Toronto hood kid that got into trouble for petty crimes. By grade 11, Lamar dropped out of school and leaned more on the street life. He also got into music at an early age, getting his inspiration from rappers like Tupac and Nipsey Hussle. Through his teenage years is when he got into rap, as well as his younger brother, who was 1 year younger than him. They started a crew called Family, named after a slang pronunciation of the word family used in Toronto in the early 2000s. Being pre-YouTube and streaming times, all of their songs are available only on DatPiff, Facebook, and hand-to-hand street mixtapes. Unfortunately, the only lyrics that would matter were "Real niggas don't crack to the coppers" and "Free the niggas pulling the tricks." In the summer of 2008, it is alleged that Lamar and his younger brother were in the West End housing complex where Kenneth Mark lived. At the time, they were said to be showing to kids in the neighborhood. Kenneth Marks, a prominent advocate for peace in the neighborhood, threatened to call the cops. This led to an argument and a subsequent shooting that led to Mark getting in the back with a shotgun. Kenneth Mark testified, and Lamar Skeet and his younger brother were charged with attempted murder. The attempted charges on the Skeet brothers were dropped for lack of reasonable chance, and by December of 2009, they were both free men. Unfortunately, on the evening of December 29, 2009, Kenneth Marks was gunned down execution style, and the investigators were immediately on the hunt for the Skeet brothers. On January 22, 2010, police executed a search warrant on the apartment where the Skeet brothers and their mother lived. There, deep in a fresh air vent hidden behind a hamper, they found a .22 caliber Walther handgun, a black silencer, and a bag of bullets. Forensic test matched a gun and a bullet casing found at Kenneth Mark's murder scene, connecting it to the murder weapon. Lamar Skeet was ultimately convicted for the passing of Kenneth Marks. The lyrics from the song Live from the Dawn would also be used to convict him for the murder. Real don't crack to the coppers, the Crown claims, and the judge believed that the song was a warning based on the street's no snitching code and was a direct reason for Kenneth Marks. Lamar Skeet started his life sentence in 2012. To this day, A.W.O.L claims his innocence, and he stands on the fact that the song was recorded prior to any incident that happened with Kenneth Marks. There's always been a looming rumor that the real killer was actually arrested on a separate incident, but because of the no snitching code, that individual was never charged with Kenneth Marks' murder.
Social media banned. You gave them all the facts. We're gonna do you like Snoopy. You go.
Now, lyrics being used is becoming an ongoing trend in this story right here, with a multitude of these rappers falling victim to their rhymes being used in court. Fast forward to 2024 and social media has become the smartest detective. Nowadays, rappers snitch on themselves on Instagram Live, the story post, or on Snapchat, evolving from the self-snitching on Twitter popularized by the Chicago drill scene in 2012. This brings us to the final person in our story, Flippa GGG.
A whole lot of gang. Who's in the cup, man?
Flippa GGG was born in Somalia, but raised as a teenager in the notorious Lawrence Heights neighborhood, aka Jungle, which was previously mentioned with our buddy El Prezidentah. The GGG in his name is for his crew, the Go Get 'Em Gang. The rap crew and alleged street gang is led by the very popular Toronto rapper Top 5, who is currently incarcerated for a first-degree. The Flippa GGG story is so crazy because he has a very small musical catalog. In fact, when you do a YouTube search, you can find dozens of documentary pieces on Flippa rather than music or music videos. I'll save you the time of going through an in-depth backstory because I'm sure you've heard it 1,000 times. As per his catalogs, the songs, or at least the features that he's on, runs in the millions of views. Flippa appeared on the top 5 song Drill Some More that dropped in November of 2019, sitting at over 3 million views, and Drill Some More 2 that dropped in June of 2020 post his incarceration. For Flippa lacked in musical output, he made up for his online presence or for the threat of bumping into him if you're one of his ops. His reputation would catch up to him after being caught up in a deadly street gang war, which left him accused of the murder of an aspiring Toronto rapper by the name of Murda. It didn't stop there though. Flippa also was accused of executing the hit of Anthony Fiorda, aka Tony Scratch, a mob enforcer for the Camiso crime family. In the same mob killing, police surveillance videos from an undercover investigation showed the now deceased rapper YS gunning down the mob enforcer before jumping in the getaway car that Flippa allegedly drove. And in the trial, evidence from the surveillance video and phone records helped to sink young Flippa, along with evidence that him and YS even paid $60,000 to do the hit. With both murder charges, this earned Flippa the nickname Mr. Two Cases, the name that was infamously coined in the top 5 song 2 Cases. Unfortunately for Flippa, he would end up being convicted of both cases and now facing multiple life sentences. I want to send an RIP to any of the people named in this story whose lives were lost, and condolences to their families. And for the young viewers, stay in school, don't no one, and if you do, don't rap about it.
We love hip hop.